Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, everyone. Welcome back to the Faith Revival. So there are certain sins that are called mubiqat. They're called destructive, and they are the major sins. And it's not that any sin cannot be forgiven by Allah, but there are certain sins that even in your lowest point you should not go to. And there are a few narrations about these major sins and particularly the impact they have on Iman. In one narration, the Prophet ﷺ, he says in this narration from Abu Hurairah radiallahu ta'ala anhu, that when a man commits zina, when a man commits adultery, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala removes belief from him the way that a roof would come off of someone. So if you can imagine like a sliding roof, a person is sheltered as they are sitting with their belief, but at that point Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala removes, just like a sunroof, Iman from that person. And then the Prophet ﷺ said, until he stops committing that act and he repents to Allah, and then the roof comes back. In another narration, the Prophet ﷺ explained this beyond zina. He took it beyond adultery. He said in this narration from Ibn Abbas, لا يزني الزاني حين يزني وهو مؤمن, that a person does not commit adultery while they are believers. ولا يسرق السارق, and a person does not steal while he is a mu'min, while he is a believer. And he says, وَلَا يَشْرَبُ الْخَمْرِ, he doesn't drink alcohol while he is a believer. And he says, وَلَا يَقْتُلْ حِينَ يَقْتُلْ وَهُوَ مُؤْمِنٌ, and he doesn't kill while he's killing, and he's a believer. So the Prophet ﷺ is saying that in the moment of those deeds, a person is devoid of faith. Iman leaves them. So Ikramah says, I asked Ibn Abbas radiallahu ta'ala anhum, so how does faith leave him? What does that mean? So he said, Ibn Abbas clasped his hands and then he said like this, and he said then when he repents it comes back. So it's a temporary departure. A person does not become a disbeliever for committing major sins. And that's from the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that so long as a person acknowledges their belief, even if they're committing major sins, we don't say about people that they've become disbelievers, that they've left the faith. But when a person is committing those deeds, they are purposefully ignoring Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and instead of using the senses that God gave them to draw close to Him, they're using those senses to pleasure themselves. And so they're actually worshipping their own shahawat, their own desires. And if you insist upon that, Uthman radiallahu ta'ala anhu says that I swear by Allah that Iman, faith, and khamr, and alcohol cannot coexist in a person's heart. Eventually one of them is going to expel the other. The Prophet ﷺ says, مُدْمِنُ الْخَمْرِ كَعَابِدِ وَثَنٍ, that the one who insists upon drinking alcohol becomes like the one who worships idols. And he also says, there's certain characteristics that are just not befitting to a believer even in their lowest point. He said that there is no iman for a person that lies, or a person that cannot be trusted. A believer can do many things. He can be a coward, he can be a miser, but he can't be a liar. It's not befitting. And he said that a believer's belief is sound so long as he doesn't murder. So all of these hudud, all of these boundaries that are set for us show us a very important point, that not all sins are equal, especially in regards to their impact on your faith. And a lot of times we go through low moments, and when we go through low moments, we justify our sins. And the worst thing that you could do is you end up in one of those major sins. You do not want death to come to you while you're in that state, as the Prophet ﷺ mentioned, devoid of belief. That would be a tragedy. And how many people, just due to something that they're going through in life, get into some relationship or get into, go to the bar and drink themselves and then end up in a car accident or end up with something very harmful happening to them as a result of these things. You don't want to meet Allah with that being your last moments. So keep that low, keep that as the bare minimum. Allah understands. He knows that sometimes your faith will be low and there are certain sins that you're going to be prone to. But do not fall into the major sins. Stay away from the major sins in particular, and do not insist on the minor sins. And that should be the bar that we set for ourselves at the bare minimum, that we don't fall into those things. May Allah protect us from ever being attracted to those things or ever falling into those things. And if we fall into them, may He allow us to repent immediately and to not leave this world except that we are forgiven for those sins and not insisting on them, and protect our iman and let us die on iman. Allahumma ameen. Jazakumullahu khairan. Inshallah, I'll see you next time. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.